Hey everybody, it's Kara Charniak with the My Worry Free Kid program back with you here today. And what I want to talk about today is something that a lot of parents find not easy to admit, but it's found in 95% of parents who have anxious kids, and that is something called accommodation. And so accommodation it takes a couple forms. It takes the form of either participating in your child's anxiety cycle by either modifying what you do or by avoiding situations altogether. And at the time, it feels like the right thing to do. I mean, you want them to feel safe and comfortable, right? But often, without realizing it, we are actually keeping our kids stuck. So, one of the principles in the My Worry Free Kid program is that accommodation is not support. So as parents, I mean, we want to support our kids, right? That's our role. And we think that by doing these things, by helping them avoid the situations, that we are supporting them, but we're not. Those are called accommodations. And when you give your child accommodations, what you're really saying is, I don't believe that you can handle the feelings. Right? It's, I don't believe that this situation that's come up, I don't believe you can handle it. So I'm going to step in and I'm going to help you avoid that situation altogether. An example of this is I had a parent whose child was terrified of dogs. And so this parent went out of their way to make sure that if they were outside, if they saw a dog coming, they would help the child go on the other side of the street and just avoid anything that had to do with dogs. If they wouldn't go to family members' houses that had dogs, if the kid had friends who had dogs, they obviously wouldn't go over to their house and play. And the intention was good, right? We're going to help them avoid this thing that's making them freak out. But if you've ever heard the saying, anxiety is a monster that's never full, right? So this monster, this anxiety monster, it's never full, it's never satisfied. And you think, okay, well, I'll help them avoid this and then it'll be over. They'll be good. But what happens is that fear of that dog, not just seeing them in person, then generalizes to just not wanting to see pictures of dogs, not wanting to see dogs on TV, not wanting to read stories about dogs. And it starts to generalize more and more to where they got to the point where their child didn't even want to leave the house. And they couldn't have the TV on because if a commercial came on and had a dog in it, their child would just freak out. So that main point, which was, he's afraid of running into a dog physically, now has generalized to he doesn't want to see dogs at all, doesn't want to think about dogs. In that situation, we work with the parent to realize what were the accommodations that they were making. So again, remember, we can't control your child's behavior, but we can control what we are doing in that environment that's helping them to avoid their anxiety. And so the parent looked at what their behaviors were, how they had accommodated here on point A and here on point B. And we started making changes in those so that gradually their child was exposed more and more to dogs, first in pictures, then, in video, then having outside running into dogs, gradually, piece by piece, and we're able to help their child through feeling anxious instead of avoiding the feelings of anxiety. Do you see the difference? It's like by avoiding it, they're sending the message to their child that, I get it. You can't handle dogs. You can't handle those feelings. So I'm going to protect you. So every time we step in, whether it's a modification or an avoidance, every time we step in to protect, we send our child the message that, yep, don't believe it, can't handle it, I'll take over. right? So we want to start in the program looking at where are these points, where are your accommodating behaviors as a parent, and we start to change those behaviors into supportive behaviors. That's just step one in the program, but it makes a huge difference. So I get asked a lot, well, how is this different than therapy? And the biggest thing I can say is that therapy is focused on your child, right? It's on their feelings, their actions, their tools to cope with their feelings, but it's only part of the equation. A lot of times parents are left on the outside looking in if they're included at all. And it doesn't really look at the parent's role, which science and research and studies have found that the parent's role in childhood anxiety is just as important. In fact, 95% of parents have these accommodating behaviors. So if your child goes to therapy and they're learning these tools, but you as a parent are continuing the same behaviors and you're not recognizing where you're fitting into this cycle, then we could see how 60% of talk therapy doesn't work and the child regresses, especially when they stop going, if you can get them to go at all, right? If you have an older child. So the My Worry Free Kid program is different because it's made for parents, right? We are not treating the child's behavior. That is left to therapy and their therapists if they need therapy. We are looking at the parent's behavior, and we are working with you to make those steps to switch from accommodating behaviors to supportive behaviors. And again, that is what you can control, right? Is your own behaviors. So that's the main thing that makes it different from therapy. It's not just talk therapy for you either. It's focused on recognition of your patterns and action, and making action and changing those patterns. But those are the things that we're doing in the My Worry Free Kid program. Your kid is not involved at all. This is all about you and getting you back to feeling where you are empowered. You're not overwhelmed anymore. You don't feel like you're spinning your wheels just not knowing what to do. And you as a parent feel supported so that you in turn can then support your anxious child. And it's really about reinforcing to your child that they absolutely can face their fears rather than sending the message that they can't handle their discomfort. This approach gets to the heart of the issue, which is how parents can unwittingly, unknowingly, and definitely unintentionally keep anxiety alive. So if you've recognized some of these behaviors in yourself and you have an anxious child, head on over to my free masterclass. It's live, and we're going to talk about these principles and helping you start recognizing through these principles where you may be making those missteps, where you may be accommodating rather than supporting, or maybe you've been focusing on the things you can't control rather than the things you can control. So head on over to Facebook and join my Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/My Worry Free Kid program. And that's where the link to the masterclass is. Let's spend that time together so you can get those aha moments and start getting the ball rolling for yourself to feel like you've got a handle on this situation again. And let's put some of the power back in your hands so you can feel empowered. And then in turn, you can help your child start to reclaim some of their own power. So I'll see you over there.